The film that might be somewhat controversial, or maybe not. Who knows? The way it was presented, a lot of people saw it as the game changer that was going to bring people back to the cinema. Yet, at the end of the day, did it really truly bring people back to the cinema? Or did it get people talking? A little bit more from this review. What we wanted to talk about is the plot for Tenet. See, that's going to be the complicated part. See, this movie is, I would say, it's very simple. At its core, it's about saving the world. At its core. But how we get there is the most complicated part about it. It is probably to its detriment. The more problem with this movie is its convoluted plot. It's a plot that should be simple, but shouldn't be this complicated. And that's the biggest problem with this plot, is that when you have this movie about saving the world, but then there's added in a little bit extra details, little backstories, and how the way you can reverse time is worked in, and it almost makes you question some things, like some later on plot details of how you change the world itself, and how that is kind of your important guide. So there's later on, it does explain itself later on, because at the beginning of the movie, it's really defining that could be a World War III event, in which John Washington has to overcome. But later on, it's a little bit more murky, in which characters were portrayed in one light are now having had information, and these other people have information, and it kind of gets a little murky. But overall, I think the plot was, it's to its flaw good, but at the same time it's bad. So rating wise, I'd give the plot more or less a B. David Washington was great in this movie. I feel like, for me personally, John David Washington's character now had a really generic name, and as you said it before, protagonist. His name is Protagonist, and what he is, he's pretty much the main avatar for the story. For me, in particular, definitely since Christopher Nolan in Inception has created characters, I love Christopher Nolan. I'm gonna be honest, I love Christopher Nolan, but I think his biggest failure as a director is to not making the main characters very in depth. I think the best last character was the best one was Leonardo DiCaprio in Inception. Interstellar, Matthew McConaughey was pretty decent, but he was more or less a father trying to fight for his kids, so you got a little bit of sense of like a little bit of personality with him. John David Washington's kind of a form bringing back to the classic a little bit step in the right direction for a character who cares about another character in this movie. I could give you that spoiler, but he does care about somebody else. He's a great avatar, and I think John David Washington brought a sense of like humor and tone and just overall interest in him. I wish it was given a little bit more, but I think he did a really good job. So Robert Pattinson. I know it's going to be a lot of people don't like him from Twilight. Let's be honest. There's going to be a lot of hate for him for Twilight, which is unwarranted. You know, that franchise, it wasn't good. Direction wasn't good. The script wasn't good. There's nothing good about that. And to be honest, hey man, he was in the industry. He was young. He was trying to get a paycheck. He was trying to make himself worthy of something. He was trying to make a career out of this. And for that, I'm not going to hate him. I think that in this movie he was good. I don't think he's given so much, but I think he did the best what he could do with this character. He wasn't really boring or anything like that. He's shown that he has grown as an actor, and that he was a good actor. If you give him the right material, he's going to be good. I don't think he's a scene stealer in this movie, because there's not enough to the character in general. Like there's some mystery to him, but not enough to be like, okay, I need to see this character move on, maybe a spin-off or something like that. That wasn't enough for that. But other than that, I think he did a really good job. So that's what I got to say about him. Let's talk about Kate. This is going to be really short, not that too complicated. Kate, as Elizabeth Debicki, did a really good job. I don't think she was given enough material. I think she was good, and it's not attributed against her acting skills. I think she was amazing. She's an amazing actress. She's really shined. But this movie didn't really give her enough. I think that's another weakness of the film, is they made her too much of almost a damsel for the most part. I won't give spoilers, but yeah, she has a change, but it's not enough. She's good for what she's given. So that's about it. Last but not least, Kenneth Branagh. Now there's other characters, but I want to talk about Kenneth Branagh as my last character. I think he was okay. I mean, he's usually better than this, so yeah. I mean, he's a stereotypical kind of Russian kind of guy, like European. I don't think they said. I think they said Russian. Russia. I don't really remember. Some of this is hard to understand, so you gotta default me on that one. Other than that, I think he was decent. There was nothing to stand out. It's not like Christopher Nolan's best villain. He's a villain. That's about it. So, he's okay. So let me get to my final thoughts. Overall, the plot and the visual effects were amazing. The sound, some parts were cranked up so much that I couldn't hear some characters, so I'd watch that again. But overall, the score was amazing, and it was done by Ludwig, the guy who made Black Panther. If you want to remember that, I think that was also good. Black Panther was actually won him an Oscar. But other than that, I think that the visuals were amazing. The scenes where characters were moving. This is still in spoiler territory. Not a spoiler, but there's it's in the trailer. There's scenes where it goes reverse and forward at the same time, and it's amazing. The way Christopher Nolan puts details into little things, just bullet effects or how things pretty much synchronize with each other. It's just amazing. That is some high level craft for anybody out there, and it's an amazing feat to watch. My biggest downside to this film is the fact that it doesn't have this sense of inner and outer conflict. Sorry, there's something below me. It's not a script. It doesn't have the sense of inner and outer conflict. What I mean by inner and outer conflict, as outer conflict, there's this whole threat to the world, the free nation. There's the whole world. There's a threat that's going to be bigger than World War III. It's going to be World War III. And they say that in the trailer. But the inner conflict, there's not that much inner conflict connecting the character, tying the main protagonist, which is this name, to the overall plot. Like, his character could be switched out with other characters and still would have functioned. Not like like John wasn't good. I mean, the thing is, his character per se could be flipped out with any person, and it would kind of fit in the blanks. There's nothing that's really personal to him. There's not like, oh, I lost my child, or I'm overcoming an obstacle like alcoholism or something like that. You don't have to have those things, but the point is something that's personal, or like he wants to pursue a dream of, he's the new guy and he's got to learn something that the old guys are going to teach. Yeah, there's not that kind of thing going on in this movie, so that's the biggest thing, and it's been plaguing Christopher Nolan for a while. It's just that inner conflict is what's going to drive a long-lasting story for generations, and that's what's missing. So that's my overall plot. When I give this score I'm gonna rate this out of 10. I'm gonna give this movie I want to give it a 7. I'm gonna give it a 7. Yep, final score 7. I think that's the best score for this movie. Sometimes you want to be like 6.5 because it's not his best work, but I'd say 7. Just a bare 7. No 7 point anything, just 7. I think it could use some work, definitely when it comes to inner conflicts and just plot details and some pacing issues. But I think that's what's going to be its biggest downfall years to go, because you'll see as a visual film, it's amazing, but just that inner conflict, that stuff that's like Lawrence of Arabia. If you think about some things like Lawrence of Arabia, just classic filmmaking from some of the greats, Alfred Hitchcock, stuff like that. You have that character who has that inner conflict that just really drives it home why you want this guy to win or lose or just make it. Just those things are important. And yeah, so that's what I feel about Tenet. Please subscribe for more. See you soon.